Hello, welcome everyone to FMC. It is me, Jeremy, and SP3. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm up on a Friday morning. We're here to make fun of my Lakers as per usual in this time slot. And we're here to talk about anything but wrestling. It's a great day.
Non-wrestling talk here on FMC. Friday morning coffee. Fuck Mac Cardona. Whatever you want it to stand for in your world of acronyms. Let's start. Let's just start there, SP3. Let's get into it. Your Lakers are trash still. They lost to the Blazers. They lost to the Blazers. What? You can't even blame Russ. Russ didn't play. Everyone's like, oh, they're better without Russ. Yeah, it's fine. Like they'll be fine without him. They still got LeBron and Davis. Russ ruins their offense. He ruins their flow because they went to the overtime game with the Knicks and Russ got benched in overtime and they won. It's like, see, Russ is the problem. Russ is the problem. And then they played the Blazers, a team that is actively trying to tank, and they lost.
Like they literally had D-League players beating us with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the court. Like that was the most, like I thought, like I've talked about here that the losses against the Thunder hurt me the most, but this is the most depressing losses of the most depressing loss of the year because it was a close game as well. And even with down 3 with like 4 seconds to go, when you looked at LeBron on the bench, he looked so defeated. And I've never seen that. I've never seen LeBron with seconds to go in a close game just look so out of it. So it's not looking good. I'm glad all the heat on the All-Star draft was on KD and not on LeBron, and they didn't question LeBron too much because he had KD right next to him. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, it's not looking good at all. And I'm so happy. Like All-Star break couldn't come at a better time for this team. Like at least we can have like this. We could say, okay, this is the first half of the season. Whatever happens in the second half, it is what it is. We can get in the play in or we can get into that 6th spot. There's still chances of that if we could somehow put this together, but we made no trades. I didn't expect us to make any trades. Anybody that thought we were going to trade Westbrook, it was literally impossible. Like, and so I think the buyout market, maybe we could get somebody. I'm always hopeful in my Lakers, but literally I am taking a poll on the show. Who has a worse history with super teams? The Lakers or the Nets?
Oh, both of them not good. I feel like the Lakers are a little bit worse, but the Nets, and we'll get to them. That situation didn't end too well either. We got some super chats, guys. Send in your super chats. Get your question, comment, statement read on air. We always banter and interact with the chat, but we do like money here. Especially me. I got kids. SP3's got kids. I'll throw them some money as well. We got kids to support, man.
I've said on camera with Jeremy before, Cody has 1 biracial baby. I have 2. So we are trying to save racism. So every dollar counts.
Tad says this for SP3 as a fellow Lakers fan. I feel your pain. Best we can hope for is Russ off the bench, convince him to go for 6th man of the season. There's a famous, at least famous in Thunder circles. It's probably not famous in NBA circles. Russ played defense for like half a season one year. It was the first like Paul George Russ season. The second Paul George season in OKC because the first had Carmelo Anthony, but the first without Melo. And there's this famous interaction between them where Paul George is like, well, how come you've never been first team all defense? And Russ is just like, I don't know. And then Paul George is like, well, you should go for it. And I don't remember what Russ said, but Paul George said, why not? And like, that's Russ's slogan and everything. So like the first half of this season, Russ is super locked in defensively. I've never seen him play defense the way he was playing defense the first half of that season. And then it all blew up, of course, but he was so locked in the first half. And that was, according to everybody in the Thunder organization and Paul George himself, like that was the reason why Russ was so locked in on defense, because George just said, why not? So LeBron should go to Russ and be like, how come you never won 6th man of the year? Why not? Why not go for 6th man of the year?
Westbrook is very much that Kobe mentality of if you say I can't do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to do it at least.
Well, somebody should say, how come you don't shoot better from three? And maybe that'll get him to shoot a little bit better. That we're gonna talk about that here some more. But Valbla says someone made a GoFundMe to get Russ to opt out of extension. Lakers fans are desperate. Oh man, so they didn't make any moves. I didn't expect any moves because I don't think anybody was really wanting Taylor Horton Tucker and a first round pick 5 years in advance. I mean, maybe I don't know how good the Lakers are going to be in 5 years, but Taylor Horton Tucker, unfortunately, they're trying to sell very low on him, and nobody was looking to buy very low on him. There was reportedly, according to Chris Haynes of Yahoo, a Russ for John Wall swap on the table. The language in that was kind of weird because the tweet made it sound like Houston was throwing in a first round pick to get the deal done. And then the article made it sound like the Lakers wouldn't throw in their first round pick to get the deal done. So I'm not sure who was including the first round pick there. Regardless, it sounds like it was on the table. The Lakers turned it down. I can't say I blame them on that. I know people want to point to Russ and he's the issue and everything. John Wall's not played all season. He was not good last season. If you look at his numbers last season compared to Russ's numbers this season, they're very similar. Like, I don't think John Wall is this upgrade that people want to perceive him to be. It's more about like, oh, just get Russ off the team. Things will be better. But I don't think John Wall is that upgrade that people think he is. I didn't expect them to make any big moves unless they could just ship off THT. Now they're going to be in the buyout market. We'll see who becomes available. Dragic is going to be a name that is linked. I mean, he's helpful because they signed Kendrick Nunn and he hasn't played for them all season. So you can get that scorer off the bench. So he'd be helpful for them. Otherwise, we'll see who's in that market. Those guys typically, they ain't a lot of help. There are a lot of aging veteran guys. And like, I don't think the Lakers need some aging veterans on this roster, SP3.
We got enough of those. We reached our max capacity of aging veterans. So, I'm just hopeful we can get someone that is helpful. I'm not looking for a difference maker. I'm not looking for anyone who's gonna win an award. I'm just looking for a shooter. Like I was liking the Cam Reddish trade that we would have gave up.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was liking that because I feel like Cam Reddish is a shooter. He's pretty good on defense and he's young, so you can mold him into whatever he needs to do. But he shows a lot of the skills that we need on the court right now. Honestly, the best pickup that we had in the offseason is Malik Monk. Malik Monk has been the most consistent guy overall on our team because he hasn't had the injuries of LeBron and AD. It's kind of surprising to me, and I've been seeing it over the last couple of games, but we just got to leave this first half of the season behind us, leave it in the rear view. We're still in about, I think, 9th place right now, 9th, 10th place. So we're still in that play-in circle, and we're like 3.5, 4 games out of 6th place. So it's not impossible for us to get in the playoffs and get out of the play-in, but this has been the worst first half of the season that I have seen in my Laker lifetime.
I love the Malik Monk pickup when they made that in the offseason because he is a shooter. And you have Westbrook, you have LeBron, you just surround these guys with shooters. Unfortunately, they didn't surround them with enough shooters and they're pairing them together, and they didn't surround them with anybody who's playing defense. I mean, the Lakers fans, bless y'all, you're talking yourselves into Stanley Johnson right now. And I realize he's been good, but like this man wasn't in the league 2 months ago. And I've always thought pretty highly of Stanley Johnson, but there's a reason like he kind of flamed out. And look, again, bless him. He's good. He's made an impact. He's done what he's needed to do. If you're counting on Stanley Johnson to save your season, this is like when the famous the Melo Thunder season, they were playing great. There's this again famous in Thunder circles 8-game win streak that they were on, and then Andre Robertson blows out his knee going up for an alley-oop, and it changed the course of that entire season. And they signed Corey Brewer to replace Andre Robertson, and Brewer has like 1 or 2 good games. And us Thunder fans are like, Corey Brewer, this is it. This is the savior. My friend Sammer and I talked, like, we called him the savior, Corey Brewer, because he's just like this veteran guy who hustles on defense and just like kind of gives you a little something on offense. But things were so bleak after the Robertson injury that you're talking yourself into anybody who comes in and is better than what you had. And so Stanley Johnson is for you guys what Corey Brewer was to us in the Melo season. And let me tell you how that season ended. It was a 6-game loss to the Jazz in the first round. So
I remember very well all those Thunder losses with Westbrook at the number 1 spot and with PG.
Yeah,
he always
they were not they're not fun to reminisce on. Look, man, I'm always gonna pull for Russ. I hope they somehow turn around. It seems very contentious there right now. I maybe them, the report of them declining that trade makes Russ feel like wanted and stuff, but like Frank Vogel is over here, like we got to play the guys who are going to help us win. Hopefully benching Westbrook makes him play better. Like, man, that seems like that's an issue. Like that seems like an issue between those two. LeBron and David, like Davis hasn't played well. LeBron's been great, but he's going to do what he does on defense, and that's not give you too much. The defense is a mess. I don't know. Like, what are you hoping? Like, what's best case scenario for you as a Lakers fan going into the playoffs? Like a play-in victory? Like, is that best case scenario?
Honestly, I feel like if we are able to get some wins together and get into the play-in tournament, we're gonna lose in the first round. We're not gonna win. We're not gonna win over like 2 games in the first round against the Suns or the Warriors or the Jazz, honestly. So I mean, the best thing is for us to get into that 6th place. We have, like I said, it's not impossible. Right now, it's impossible because our team is just a complete mess. We have people arguing. It's all bad overall, but I am hopeful that this All-Star break is like some magic happens. LeBron, gets a fountain of youth, and AD can be more consistent because I think AD is not playing the worst. He's just not consistent. He's been very inconsistent from game to game. Sometimes he'll give us 28 and 14, and then the next game it's like 16 and 7, and it's like, no, we need 28 and 14 like a couple of games in a row, bro. Like, get it together. You're supposed to be the number 2 here. You were the NBA Finals MVP to me the championship season. So I don't know what happened between then and now, but these injuries and I think just overall the team being bad, this is not what AD signed up for. This is what he left in New Orleans. So I think that it's a mental thing more than anything. So that's what I think that AD playing more consistent, we can get some games in a row because you have LeBron and AD. Like, even if the whole team is a mess, even if Russ is not getting along with Frank Vogel, if AD is AD more consistently, we know LeBron's going to be LeBron. So we can win some games with just those two.
There was somebody tweeted that like LeBron, Wade, and Bosh had it's very similar record to LeBron, AD, and Russ, and LeBron, Love, and Kyrie had a very similar record to LeBron, AD, and Russ. It was something like 11 and 14 because like both of those teams when they started off together started off very slow. That was the big thing with the Heatles is like, oh man, they're starting very slow together. And it's like, yeah, but that let's say I should probably look this up, but who cares? Let's say for argument's sake, it was like 11 and 14. It's like, but those were the first 20 games of the season. We're 50 games into the season and they've only played less than half of those together. Like that is a big issue with the Lakers is these three have not played much together. And so when you do not have when you don't have the play, Leland says like takes time to build chemistry. It's like, yeah, it does. The thing is you've got to keep playing with each other to build that chemistry. Like if you just have guys going in and out and everything, it ain't working. Like it doesn't work too well. And that's the issue with the Lakers for me is like, I do think maybe it could work. There are big fit issues. They've been fit issues since the offseason, since all this came together. But maybe it could work if these guys could get on the court together. Yeah. We are halfway through this season, over halfway, and these guys have not been on the court together that much. And there's no reason to think like, oh, they will actually get on the court together and play, because LeBron is more banged up than he's ever been. Davis is Davis. He's just that's just what he's gonna be. Russ, typically not too injured, plays through stuff, but now he's dealing with back tightness. You just don't know when these three are gonna like actually be on the court together. And that's an issue, is you've got to be on the court to build that chemistry. That's just what it is. Yeah, Leland says it's why Brooklyn's going to have issues with Kyrie, because he's going to always be in and out. Yeah, like these guys they're not going to be on the court together enough. I do think that maybe they could have built chemistry. They could have built chemistry by this point. And there's an argument if if they've played all 50 of these games and this is their record, clearly something ain't working. They haven't played enough together. There's no reason to think they're going to play enough together. And that's a big issue with the Lakers for me.
Yeah, and it's been an issue across the board. Like whenever you don't get consistent time on the court, like it's not going to work out. Even if you have a championship team, and we have the best example of that right in the same building as the Lakers is the Clippers. Like because Kawhi and Paul George always had that load management schedule, they were never able to get on the same page. And then when you had the pandemic and you're off for months, they have never been the same. Like if you watch some of those games before the pandemic with the Clippers, when they were on the court together, they were building chemistry. And then the pandemic happened. They came back. We know what happened in the bubble. Like, last year, Kawhi gets injured. This year, he's been out. Like, Paul George is out. And even still, the Clippers have been able to put it together because that team has been able to get consistent time together. Like even our beat up team, when LeBron and AD is out, even that wasn't able to have the same lineup consistently. So yeah, you're 100% right. It has to have time on the court together to put it together. All the teams you mentioned, the Miami Heat with the big three, and the Cavs with Kyrie and LeBron, starting off, it did not work chemistry-wise. That was kind of the thing with the LeBron super teams, and we are seeing the latest example of that.
Yeah, and I don't feel bad. I actually think it's very funny. But
it is.
Sorry, SP3. But those examples, they didn't play well early, but they were playing together early. And they did have that time to build the chemistry. Everybody's been so in and out of the lineup with this. They just haven't had that time. And there's no reason to think they're going to have that time. And that's an issue with the Lakers. And the rest of the team, look, man, again, it's not a good team. It's just not. They constructed it poorly. They just got all these old guys. LeBron just got all his friends in there. Bless them. But they're just not that great of a team. And at this point, I think Vogel's kind of lost the team. He certainly lost Russ. I don't know how LeBron feels about him. I know I won a championship. Those comments after the Bucks game where he's like, yeah, I don't think we can get to their level right now. Like, at least he's honest, I guess. At least he's honest.
He's being honest with himself at this point. Like and you saw who he picked first in the All-Star draft. So he knows how good Giannis is, period. And then when you have that team around there that has had consistent time together over years, they're a well-oiled machine compared to the Lakers mess. I can't even call it a machine. It's like it has the parts, but they're all in the wrong place. But some of the parts are old and used up. Like that's the Lakers right now. Like it's a mess, and we need this first half to end and somehow maybe get somebody on the buyout and pray to God.
I mean, yeah, good luck with Goran Dragic. I mean, come on, SP3. I love that Lakers fans are tight. Goran Dragic is coming in. He hasn't played well all season. He didn't even want to play for the Raptors. The Raptors have a winning culture. They're very good. That's another team. They're young, but they just go out there and they compete. And Nick Nurse is a great coach. He couldn't even fit with the Raptors. Didn't want to be there. It's Dragic is really going to turn this season around for us.
I don't understand Lakers fans who say any veteran is a good pickup.
You need to get older. Come on, the championship DNA. You got to get these old guys that are in there. They'll be great for the team. They don't have enough of those guys.
We got the oldest team. We got no draft picks basically the next couple of years. This is all bad. I feel like we have already time traveled back to where we were in 2016. It's not looking good for the Lakers this year or in the future.
let's discuss the James Harden for Ben Simmons trade. And it was a little bit more than that. So the Sixers get James Harden, the Nets get Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and a couple of first round picks. I did not think this deal was going to happen at all. Like I did not think this deal was going to happen because we hear a lot of these rumors around the trade deadline. And for the most part, like there's still some big trades at the deadline, but for the most part, when it comes to these trades, they just don't happen at the deadline. Like they happen in the off season, or maybe they happen like early in the season when they first kind of pop up. But Ben Simmons has been rumored to be traded pretty much since the game 7 of the playoffs last year when Doc and Embiid threw him under the bus. And James Harden, I know the disgruntlement was very recent stuff, but I just didn't think it was going to happen. I thought they were just going to find a way to figure it out. Everybody would just kind of, James Harden would swallow his pride a little bit with the Kyrie stuff. Maybe Kyrie would be less of a weirdo when it comes to his seance and magic spray and everything. And he's never going to get the shot. That's what it is. But regardless, I didn't think the deal was going to happen. It happened. Like it happened. I was very surprised. I love it for both teams. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, but on the surface, like, were you shocked that this happened, SP3?
No, because I heard, like I said on
you got your sources.
Yeah,
you got your sources.
On the first episode of FMC, I have sources. So I did talk to my nephew, and he was like, "It's not looking good." And he said he was like, everyone knows Kyrie is Kyrie, but it was really an issue of KD and Harden. Like it wasn't working out, and we kind of saw a little of that on the All-Star draft. Like KD is just
tremendous.
That was the greatest All-Star draft of all time.
That's the best thing they've ever done is that All-Star draft because it's LeBron and usually whoever else, Giannis or Durant, and LeBron is like he's very plugged in to this kind of stuff, and really all these NBA guys are like they're all on Twitter. They're just all on NBA Twitter and stuff, so they're all plugged in and they are not afraid to just like poke and needle each other. That was so good when LeBron just had Harden sitting there and was like, and Durant's like, I'm gonna take Gobert and everything. And of course, last year they're like, nobody wants these guys from Utah. It's like Donovan and Gobert last and everything. And this year, Barkley was so good. He's like, he's healthy now. He got traded. He'll play now.
He was like, he put some big gay on there. He set it up perfect. Where the last like 2 or 3 picks, you were already laughing at the whole thing because he was just started laughing when KD made like his 6th pick, and he's like, and everybody's asking him, he's like, "What you laughing about?" And then Kenny gets it, and he starts laughing. He was like, "I'm not gonna say it," but he was like, "Okay, I'll say it." He was like, "Stay your ass over there." He was like, "You don't want to play with me? You gonna stay on the board?" Oh man, that was perfect. And then Charles telling LeBron pick Fred VanVleet. Pick Fred VanVleet. Because he has to choose between Gobert and Harden. That was perfect. And then KD, all serious, saying, "Oh yeah, I need some size. I need some."
He's like, they got LeBron and Giannis. We gotta have some rim protection in the All-Star game. Okay. And oh man, I love LeBron. He had the clipboard. Like he was ready for it. He was gonna hide himself. Credit to Durant. Like he was straight faced the entire time. But when LeBron was like, I don't know if he's healthy, he's hamstring tightness, and then when Barkley's like, oh, he got traded, he's healthy now. That's what finally broke Durant. Durant's like, shit. Like I had to crack.
He did his best. He tried his best, and he was stone faced the entire time until they said that. He was just like, y'all wild. Oh, that was tremendous. That was great stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think the trade overall is just it's a good look for both teams, honestly, because the Nets got a lot out of that. Because even if you feel like Ben Simmons is not a good fit, I mean, basically floor spacing wise, he is, because he's an interior guy, and you got two of the best jump shooters, on away games, with Kyrie and KD. But even when Kyrie's gone and during the home games, you got KD out there, you got a bunch of shooters on the Nets. I think they can put it together and start to get maybe some chemistry in the second half of the season. But I think if I had to pick a winner, I would say the Sixers, because they just got a guy that's averaging 22, 10, and 8. Like, if he gets healthy, I think him and Embiid, that's tremendous floor spacing. I think that the Sixers right now haven't been too consistent, or they've been like defensively not that good, although Embiid is still killing it. But I think that with Harden, it's going to improve them offensively more than anything, of course. And if Embiid can get a little bit healthier himself, because he's banged up right now, I think that defensively they can get it together and maybe get in the top 4. But I mean, still going to probably be a second round or conference final exit for them.
On paper, I love this trade for both teams, because I think like the Nets had enough offense. Like, they didn't need James Harden when they got James Harden. They already had Kyrie and Durant. You have those two, your offense is pretty much going to be fine. Having James Harden was almost like a luxury. And when they're all on the floor together, like, it worked. I don't remember the record, but it was very good. It was like 11-3, 13-3 or something. Like, it was very good when they were all together. Clearly, the Kyrie stuff irked James Harden a lot, way more than I think most people knew until this last month. And Harden had given up. He was like, yeah, I'm just done with this. And look, he's forced his way out of 2 teams now. Ain't the best look for James Harden to force his way out of these 2 teams. But I love Ben Simmons in Brooklyn. Yankee Power says that. Yankee Power is our resident Nets fan here. He says Ben Simmons can play the Draymond role, and I 100% agree with that. You just use him defensively. You use him as a passer, a guy who can push the ball on the break. And we know the Nets like to have like a free-flowing kind of offense. Like, when they were playing that style, when they had all 3, that's what was so scary with them. Hashtag scary hours. Like, that's what was so scary with him, is like, people thought, oh, it's just going to be like a lot of isolation stuff. No, there was like ball movement and everything. And apparently James Harden wasn't happy with that. He wanted more of an isolation role. He didn't want to be in this free flowing stuff. But like, if you can utilize Ben Simmons in that way, that's very scary if everybody's healthy. And obviously he's going to help their defense. They have Seth Curry as well. He's going to help their shooting. You can put out a lineup and I know Yankee Power know the roster better than I do. But you can put out a lineup of Simmons as a small ball 5, Durant, Curry, Kyrie. I know Joe Harris is hurt right now, but if they can get him healthy, then you just put those guys out there. A lot of free flowing. You can get a lot of shots. Like, Ben Simmons can create for all those guys. The paint is not going to be packed at all. Like, Simmons, I still think, is a good scorer. He's not going to be a jump shooter, but he can still score around the basket if he can find his confidence. I imagine with Durant, at least with Durant, he can find his confidence. Kyrie, I don't know with him. I don't know what he's going to do to that man's confidence. The drawback with the Nets side, and then I'll talk about the Sixers side and Harden. The drawback is Ben Simmons has not played since Game 7. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I imagine he's been working out and stuff, but I don't know where he's at physically, and I don't know where he's at mentally, because he did lose so much confidence in Philadelphia. He took time off for mental health reasons. I'm not going to pretend I know about this man's mental health. I would imagine that the work situation had a lot to do with that. And now that he's found a better work situation, his mental health will improve. I mean, we see that's life, right? Like, you're in a shitty situation, you find yourself in a better environment with more encouraging people, your mental health gets better. So I wish the best for Ben Simmons in that regard. But the thing with Simmons is he hasn't played for a while. I don't know where his confidence is. I don't know where the fit is with Kyrie. I don't know where Kyrie just is in general. Seth Curry is not going to help their defense. Kyrie and Seth Curry on the floor together is going to put a lot of strain on like Durant and Simmons to cover the back end, because those guys ain't defending too much. That's my biggest issue when it comes to the Nets fit with Simmons, is where is Ben Simmons physically? Where is he mentally? What role kind of are they going to utilize him? And I think Steve Nash is a very good coach. I think he will be able to figure it out because he spent time around those Warriors. Like, I think he is going to play that Draymond role. And if everything aligns to where he's good, he accepts that role, and Durant and Kyrie are able to buy in with everything as well, then I think it is going to be a very good fit for Ben Simmons. What are your thoughts on just the Ben Simmons fit and possible, what could go wrong with the Nets and Simmons?
I think it's gonna be like a physical thing because he's been out so long, and most of all, it's gonna be a mental thing. And I think the playoffs is really where we're gonna see that is where he's at in the playoffs when he's as far as decision making. Because he's gonna be good defensively, he can handle the ball, he can distribute the ball. I think he's gonna be able to do those things, especially on the team. And you've already highlighted all the parts that they have, and they have a whole bunch of shooters around him. So especially small ball wise, that lineup would be crazy. I just don't know where they're going to be at in the playoffs with him. So my question for you is, where do you think how far they can make it in the Eastern Conference?
Kyrie only playing road games is obviously very hurtful. I mean, I made the joke our first episode of like they should just tank and get the 5 seed, and that way they got to play on the road all of these times. And like they took that very literal. They're like, oh, fuck the 5 seed. We'll just go and we'll get the play in. Like we'll really play every game on the road. We'll even play the play in game on the road. Like Kyrie only playing road games is going to mess up chemistry, and it is going to mess up just how they play from game to game, and that is going to be an issue. I still have Milwaukee as a favorite over them in the East. Miami, even like I'm leaning very heavily towards Miami. I've been in it on them from the starts. I think they've continued to come together all season. I'm still a big believer in them. Chicago, I understand the pieces are there. I understand they've been playing well all season. I'm not totally sold on them in the playoffs, largely because I've seen Billy Donovan in the playoffs. I know his issues when it comes to that. I've seen DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs. I know his issues when it comes to that as well. I do like their team overall, but you give me a choice of Kevin Durant over DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. I'm taking Kevin Durant. So I think the Nets are third. I mean, fuck Kevin Durant, but that man is a very good basketball player when he's healthy. An excellent basketball player. He was my front runner for the MVP before he got hurt. So I put them third, like very close with Miami. I'm not doubting the defending champs. Like until somebody beats Milwaukee, I'm always gonna lean towards the defending champs, especially when they have their core still together. But I do put them third because I do really like the Ben Simmons fit, assuming everything works out for them. So I think they're third. I think they could be conference finals. Now, will they get to third by the end of the season? I don't know that because Durant's still going to miss more time. But if you're just like power ranking, assuming everybody's healthy, assuming the playing field is even, and for Kyrie, the playing field, I love Barkley's joke, half man, half a season. Assuming like everything's healthy on that regard, I do put them third. How about you?
And Barkley was the one that called Vince that. So it's funny.
Yeah.
He's coming out with that like it's something new. Like, no, you recycling jokes. But I agree with you. Yeah, I would say they're third. I do got the Bucks. The Bucks. Honestly, my finals pick has completely changed because my finals pick at the beginning of the season was Lakers and Nets. That ain't happening, ladies and gentlemen. But now I can see it being Bucks and Warriors in the finals. That's like my finals pick as of today. But I would say Bucks, Miami, the Nets, because of like you said, KD, if he's healthy, especially in the playoffs, he's gonna be a threat. And I think the parts that they have around him, especially with Ben Simmons defensively, if he's there mentally, I think they're gonna be so much better on that side of the ball. And then I got the Sixers. I got the Sixers fourth before the Bulls because I feel like in the playoffs, I believe more in the combination of Embiid and Harden more than I do the Bulls, honestly. That's just me.
Look, I'm not gonna say you're wrong about that because you look at Joel Embiid, he's a monster. He's been great this season. James Harden, we know what he can bring. I also know the drawbacks of James Harden in the playoffs, and I really know the drawbacks of Doc Rivers in the playoffs.
That's
James Harden.
that's why I was hesitant to say that. It's because of Doc more than James Harden. Because he needs a coach that can hold himself in the playoffs and that can direct him where he needs to go and how he needs to play. And I just don't have that belief in Doc Rivers anymore.
A James Harden, Doc Rivers combination in the playoffs sounds like a very big recipe for disaster. It just does. And so for the Sixers side of this trade, I think James Harden and Embiid is a great pair. Embiid has always needed like a ball handler who can like set him up on like more of the pick and rolls, who is a threat to shoot off of that. Because I know Embiid doesn't always want to like set screens and run pick and rolls and stuff. I think part of that was because Simmons was his pick and roll partner, and Simmons was just, you kind of knew what you were going to get with him. He was going to go. He was never a threat to be a shooter. And the paint, the spacing with those two, it was a bad combination. I understand they want to try to make it work. Maybe they could have done more to try to make it work, but just you look at their skill sets, it was a bad combination. A guy like James Harden, who can obviously create his own shot, obviously a great passer, who has now a pick and roll partner in Embiid, and as a post-up partner to where James Harden doesn't have to be as ball dominant as he's always been. We saw him with Chris Paul. That was the best team James Harden has ever been on, is the Chris Paul team. And because they could kind of split the duties on what they were doing with the ball. This is a similar situation. Obviously, Chris Paul is a guard, was going to isolate and did a lot of isolation in those years. James and Joel Embiid's he's gonna isolate just in a different way in the post. But Embiid has been a monster this year. And if Harden, I've seen a lot of clips of Embiid essentially, he posts up, the double comes, he passes out the double. If you're going to throw that double with James Harden on that side, and he can get James Harden a wide open three, it's a very good, that's a great shot. And it's a very good combination right there, those two, if you put them on the same side of the floor. The drawback, I think, for the Nets, or my concerns with the Nets, one, James Harden just, I assume that hamstring is probably more healthier than it was at the end of the Nets season there. But the drawback is, how ball dominant does James Harden want to be in Philadelphia? Because Embiid still needs his touches. A lot of the offense still needs to run through Embiid. And if Harden wants to be like, oh, my usage rate's got to be 60%, 65%, then that becomes an issue between those two, because both guys got to sacrifice here. Embiid, now he is playing with a ball dominant point guard who can create and get his own shots and everything. He's going to have to sacrifice touches. Harden is now playing with a guy who is a ball dominant in the post. He's going to have to sacrifice some touches. Defensively, obviously, James Harden ain't going to help your defense too much. So that's going to put some strain on Embiid as well. Harden and Doc, playoffs, I don't know what's going to happen with those two. On paper, again, great fit. How is it going to work in the locker room? The egos, because look, man, James Harden, he's forced his way out of two teams now. He is used to being the guy, and I understand Brooklyn, he wasn't the guy, but that was the issue, is he felt he should have been, or he felt he should have had more isolation touches, and it didn't happen. So I think there could be some fit issues if both guys aren't willing to put ego aside a little bit. I think Embiid will a little bit more. Harden, at this point, some guys are just set in their ways. Like that, I talk about it many times with Westbrook. Some guys are just set in their ways and they ain't going to change. And James Harden has kind of reached that point with me.
I think you might be right. Unfortunately, I think this team is more like, to me, Harden's Houston Rockets team with Dwight Howard. And that was the first time he really was that kind of ball dominant guy, because he had just came over from the Thunder and he had his best season that way. And I think if he goes back to that type of James Harden, who can work on the pick and roll, who can give to your big man in the post, and when your big man gets doubled, get open and hit those threes, I think that he can get into the flow and it's going to be a perfect combination on offense. Defensively, he just has to try. Just try, especially in the playoffs. I think that's when it's going to come down to, because it's really, it's not like a back and forth game. It's really like possession by possession. And that's where, coaching comes into play, and that's going to be their weakness. So that's why I said with Philadelphia is most likely going to be like a second round or conference final exit. I think they might luck into the conference finals if like the Bucks of the world and the Miami of the world can kind of cancel each other out. They can kind of make their way to the conference finals, but I don't believe in them enough to make it to the finals until they get a better coach than Doc Rivers. I am so over Doc Rivers, like, and especially because I feel like as well as Kobe should have won 2 MVPs, he should have 6 rings, and he should have got it against Boston and Doc Rivers. If it
Dude,
wasn't
Doc
for Paul
Rivers
Pierce faking a goddamn injury to use the bathroom.
Doc Rivers has lived off of that one championship. I'm sure you saw it when they blew that lead to the Clippers this year. Maybe it was the Clippers. They blew some big lead that should not have been blown. And the reporter asked, like, how much of that was coaching? And Doc is like, would you ask Greg Popovich that question? It's like, Pop has won like 6 titles. All right. You've won 1 and blown leads your entire career. So you are not the same. This is not apples and oranges here. All right. What are we doing here? Yes. Yes. He said, would you ask Popovich that question? Like, no, because Popovich has earned that. Okay. You have not. This is like this is like Kevin Love, plus Kevin Love. He's been great and everything. But if Kevin Love has a bad game and people are like, hey, like, what went wrong? And Kevin Love's like, would you ask LeBron that question? Well, no, because LeBron's carried all these teams. Like, you did great in that one championship appearance, Kevin Love. You're a very good player and stuff. But let's not act like you guys are on the same level here, okay? Sorry, Kevin Love. I just kind of compared you to Doc Rivers, and that's very mean of me. But like, come on now, Doc Rivers. You ain't Greg Popovich. Get out of here.
Like, dude, like, I would take every other coach that has 1 championship over you. I'd take Nick Nurse. I'll take Nick Nurse over you. I take some coaches that don't have championships. I'll take Monty Williams before you. I'd probably take Quinn Snyder because he's been very consistent as far as like defensively, and even in the playoffs, the Utah Jazz has overachieved a lot more than underachieved. Like you have most blown 3-1 leads in history as a coach. Like, and you've had all these lineups, and I'm one person that last year I was like, we got to keep that same energy with Chris Paul until he made it to the finals and kind of shut me up because I felt like Chris Paul was also a choke artist, but didn't get that heat because he's point guard. And I understand that, but we got to keep that same energy. Don't act like Chris Paul didn't have teams that were like championship contenders, especially with like the Clippers. I think people forget because it was like 5-6 years ago.
But that was Doc Rivers' fault. Now I'm putting all the blame on Doc Rivers. I put no blame on Chris Paul. That's all Doc's fault.
No, we can always blame Doc. Like, come on.
Yeah, this is all Doc Rivers' fault. Chris Paul gets no blame for those Clippers squads, okay? If he was coaching the team, they would have been a lot better. I absolve Chris Paul of all his wrongdoings. It was all Doc Rivers' fault.
He's like, you threw the holy water on Chris Paul. Like, you're absolved of all the sins of Doc Rivers. You have been reborn and rechristened. But yeah, Doc Rivers is the main thing. That's the main fault of the 76ers. I would love to get on the Sixers bandwagon and believe they can make it to the finals because of how good Embiid has been. I think he's been probably the best big man in the league, and that's saying something when you got Nikola Jokic over there looking like an MVP candidate. Also, they're like 1-2 again, back-to-back years, 1-2 in the MVP race. So, and I think this year, if they can get into that top 4 seed, I think it goes to Embiid over Jokic because I feel like he's just been an offensive force, leading the league in scoring. So I'm hopeful for the Sixers, but yeah, Doc is their main force. So that's why I say they're 4th. As far as like the West, I think that not enough people are making a big deal enough about this KP trade for the Mavs. Like,
yes, I want to talk about this.
Let's talk about that.
So there were other trades yesterday. I know the Simmons for Harden deal got a lot of the headlines, but this Kristaps Porzingis deal. So the Wizards get Porzingis in a second. The Mavericks get Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. I thought Porzingis had been playing well in Dallas, like especially when Luka was hurt and everything. Like Porzingis had been playing very well. Spencer Dinwiddie, I mean, I don't think he's bad, but I don't really know what he's adding next to Luka. Bertans, I understand he's a good shooter. He hasn't shot the ball well this season, but I understand that there's a ceiling there where he can shoot the ball well. But defensively, they ain't helping you there. This just felt like Luka was like, I ain't playing with this dude anymore. I don't care what you get, just get him off my team. And I did not understand this at all. Jason Kidd tried to remedy and be like, we got our one superstar. We'll just be like a team. He compared it to the Dallas team that won the title with Dirk. And that's basically, I guess, what they're going for here. I think the West it's not wide open, but like after the Warriors and the Suns, like it's there for the taking for any team that wants to be there. I think we're just headed for a Warriors Suns showdown in the conference finals. But I did not get this deal at all. I was stunned to see it. I knew the Porzingis stuff in the offseason, maybe you do something, but based on how he was playing this season, I didn't think this was going to happen, especially not for Dinwiddie and Bertans.
I was so confused about this trade because I felt like the Mavs were the dark horse to me, because at the beginning of the season, I said Luka would be MVP. And like I said, Jokic and Embiid are 1 and 2, but I say Luka's in that top 3, top 4 kind of MVP, because it's just been about the Mavs just consistently playing. Like they've kind of been in between that 4th to 6th seed. Right now they're in 5th place, but I thought that the way Jason Kidd was coaching, the way KP was playing, Luka getting healthy and playing on the court, I think they could have got it together and even got into maybe the 3rd seed and leapfrog like the Jazz of the world. But this move just, it didn't make sense as far as the team that you had and that was playing kind of well together and that was getting that chemistry together. This is going to really throw a wrench in there. And then you have no interior defense to replace KP in this trade. You got a point guard who's not really a point guard. He's an undersized 2. When you got Luka, who, his position is always fluctuated, but he's played like mostly guard throughout his career. So he'll go from point guard to 2 guard. Now he has to play point guard again. So we already know he's going to dominate the ball, but how does then Dinwiddie play? Because Dinwiddie plays better when he has ball control. So it's a very weird trade for them. I would say the Wizards won this trade pretty much because, I mean, KP's been playing well. They got rid of that Dinwiddie contract, which they gave him a whole bunch of money. And I was like, I mean, he was the 6th man of the year. But
the Bertans contract wasn't good either. They paid that man a lot of money just as a 3-point specialist, which I get, but now his 3-point shooting is kind of really fallen off. It's like, oh man, now you're paying this guy a ton of money to be an average 3-point shooter and do literally nothing else on the court.
Like they got rid of 2 contracts to get 1 player who, if Bradley Beal comes back and he's healthy next season, give it a try and see what you can do in the Eastern Conference. Like the Eastern Conference, the play-in teams and the bottom like 2, 3, like 6, 7, 8 seed, they kind of fluctuate and change every other week. So you could kind of get in there next year with a healthy Bradley Beal. Like this is a great trade for the Wizards. I'd say they're 100% the winner here, but you're 100% right what you said at the beginning. I think it's really what we heard in the offseason after the Mavs were eliminated, that Luka did not want to play with KP, and although they were playing well together, he just said, nope, well, make it at the trade deadline. He was like, I'll give you to the trade deadline, but I don't care how he's playing. Get rid of him.
Which is fine, but the pieces they got back, it's just, was there nothing else out there for Porzingis? Because he rehabbed his value pretty well this season, I thought. Like at the end of last season, there wasn't a lot of value for Porzingis. I thought he rehabbed his value pretty well, and it's like, okay, you get Dinwiddie, now you're going to take opportunities away from Brunson, possibly. And I like Jalen Brunson. I think he's been good for the Mavericks. And then you get Bertans again. He's giving you nothing if he ain't shooting the ball at a very high clip. It's like, was there nothing better out there for Porzingis? Could they have not gotten CJ McCollum? Like, could they have not swung that deal? There had to be something
that
better.
Would have been like the perfect trade for them. Like you got an actual 2 guard that is size. he doesn't play that horribly on defense, and he can score very well, and he can create shots for Luka. So that's different than Dinwiddie. I feel like Dinwiddie is most effective when he has the ball, and I feel like that takes away from Luka, and it, like you said, it also takes away from Brunson. So it's a weird fit, but definitely the Davis Bertans as the second player, that was just like, what are you doing? Like, like seriously, CJ McCollum was available. I would have taken Norman Powell.
In fairness to the Blazers, like looking at that deal, I know they wanted to dump salary. That's essentially why they made all of these deals. So they probably didn't want to take back Porzingis' contract. It still seemed like there was a team out there that, look, man, the Thunder, they're under the cap floor right now. They're living in the basement when it comes to the cap. They would have just taken that Porzingis contract and be like, yeah, throw in a bunch of first round picks. We'll take it. Who cares? And I don't think Porzingis is going to help him win too many more games, but yeah, it was a weird deal to deal Porzingis now, and for the return they ended up getting.
I'm like really baffled by it, honestly. Like, you couldn't get Tyler you couldn't trade with Sacramento. Sacramento's basically getting off everybody.
Oh, you couldn't trade with Indiana? Like, Indiana's just giving away Sabonis out here. Like, I mean, look, if I'm Indiana, I'm taking Halliburton over Porzingis 100%. If I'm Sacramento, though, and they're trying to, I don't know what they're doing with their roster. They're trying to
took Sabonis. Why they couldn't
I like Sabonis.
But no,
I'm not knocking.
I would have took KP over Sabonis. Honestly, the way KP was playing this season, I do him the rest of the season and then try to trade him off at the offseason if I'm Sacramento. I don't think they're keeping Sabonis long term.
I don't know. They might. Sabonis is a guy that he's a very good like second player for you. He gives you nothing defensively, but offensively, like you can do a lot with Domantas Sabonis. And if you think De'Aaron Fox is your number one guy, and clearly they do after trading Halliburton, I don't know if that's right or wrong. I've always been pretty high on De'Aaron Fox. I know this season he's not played well at all, but I've always been high on Fox. Like, if you think he can be your number one guy, Sabonis is a good guy to have as your number two, because you can run a lot of dribble handoff stuff. Sabonis is going to make plays. He's a good shooter, at least from mid range. His 3-point's not great, but like, I don't mind that. I wouldn't have given away Halliburton if I'm Sacramento, but I don't think Sabonis is a bad return to get. He's a guy you want on your team. The Pacers, I thought they were going to do a little bit more. Like, I guess nobody wanted the Brogdon contract. That could have been maybe something that was Brogdon for Porzingis. And then you'd have to do some more framework there probably. But like, I thought they were going to try to move off the Brogdon contract. They couldn't, but they did trade Sabonis. They did trade Karis LeVert. They're retooling. I really like Halliburton. I think that gives Indiana a higher ceiling moving forward. I mean, this season they're dead in the water, but moving forward, I think Halliburton's going to be a real player for them.
Yeah, that can be like the star they kind of build around, honestly, right now, because he's got a lot of potential. He's pretty good on defense as well. I think that's one of like the most underrated part of his game. So I think that if they build around him, get him some big man to kind of work with, because I think they're going to still get off Miles Turner as well. And I think they're going to really go into rebuild mode. Them and Portland kind of seem like the two teams, and Portland has Dame where they're going to do like a soft rebuild. And I think the Pacers have already started their rebuild. They're going to get off more, but Halliburton is a good starting piece.
I really like Halliburton. I'm shocked that Sacramento just, I don't think it gave him away, because I think I'm higher on Sabonis than a lot of people. I just don't know if I would have traded him at all. But they did. The other kind of big deal, as we alluded to it, was CJ McCollum going to the Pelicans and ending the Dame and McCollum era, which the highlight of that was Dame waving goodbye to a 6 seed when they were a 3 seed. Congratulations, guys. That's your big moment together as a duo, is you beat a lower seed. Good job.
Yeah, I take this as you not being a fan of CJ and Dame. I mean, Charles was trying
No,
to
I
convince
look.
everybody. He was trying to convince everybody
He
that they could
was.
have done more. Like he was making his case. He had been on that Portland Trail Blazers banner for like the past 5 seasons, where he would pick them to win the West, and they never would. Like they would be like a 1 seed close to January, and he'd be all hyped and be like, "Yeah, I told ya," and then they would always peter out. But I think that they never really committed to kind of building around those guys. Like they tried to get some, like they drafted some guys like Nurkic that was good with them, but they never made deals to kind of build around those two. So, like you said, yeah, their biggest highlight is beating the Thunder, who was a 6 seed, and they were a 3rd seed, and it's a meme from now into eternity together. So CJ and Dame, it was nice. You were the poor man Splash Brothers.
That's really what they were. I mean, I know they made it to the Western Conference Finals and they lost, but like nobody even remembers that they made it to the Western Conference Finals because they didn't capitalize on that the next season. Like they just continue to lose. Everyone remembers the wave goodbye and they want to look back fondly on, oh man, end of an era, McCollum and Dame. It's like, cool. You made one Western Conference Finals where you got absolutely destroyed, and your big highlight was beating a lower seed. I'm probably very biased because of that moment. But look, Dame waves goodbye to the Westbrook era. We're closer to a title than he is right now. What's Portland going to do? What's Dame going to do with cap space? Can cap space shoot the ball? Is cap space going to play defense for them? Like, what's he doing with cap space? All right. I don't think he's doing much with it. Dame's going to be 100% on the usage rate because cap space ain't giving them shit right now. Maybe they sign somebody, but who wants to go to Portland? I ain't go to Portland.
That's what
to
I
play.
said. Like I was like, why are you getting cap space? Like anyone wants to go to Portland. Like, I mean, I liked whitewater rafting when I went to Oregon, but that was cool for like a weekend. It's not someplace I want to live for 6 months of my life at a time. Like
Weed's legal over there, right?
that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. But you're in the NBA, so you can't even enjoy that.
True. They got Anthony Simons. He's good. I do think he's a good player. I don't know what I mean. I know what Portland's doing. They're trying to retool. They're hoping that they're going to keep Dame. They're going to see what they can do in the offseason. If they can land a free agent with their cap space or some type of trade to pair next to Dame, they'll move forward with that. If they can't, I think there is a chance that Dame gets traded in the offseason. If they can't make a splash with cap space, then I don't know if Dame is looking at this roster and being like, yeah, I'm going to come back to this. This is what I'm going to spend my next 4 or 5 years, whatever his contract is. This is what I'm going to spend doing. So, I like Dame. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't like that people think that moment of him waving goodbye. Like, I don't think he should have a better moment than that. Okay? You should have a better moment than your little wave goodbye to a lower seed. Congratulations.
Hey, it was because everybody was doubting them, even as
I
the
know.
highest seed. Like
Look, I'm not
said,
gonna lie. I'm gonna pull back the curtain here a little bit. There was this was a crazy final night of the season. Like so many things had to break right for this OKC team to get that 6th seed and play the Blazers, because the Blazers were definitely looking like the weakest of the top seeds. Like that's who you kind of wanted. And when everything, because like the Blazers were like benching guys that final game, and like their bench won them the game to get them the 3rd seed and stuff. Like so many things broke right for OKC to get the 6th seed to face the Blazers. And when that happened, I was like, oh, this is good. Like this is the team that we want. We want this Blazers team. We don't want to face one of those top 2 teams. We want this Blazers team. I was very excited. And then when it happened the way it happened, I was like, oh shit. Well, this didn't turn out how I was hoping to.
I was confident in y'all too, because that was at a time where people were starting the whole argument of what has CJ and Dame done together? Like, they really done nothing together. So I was with y'all. I was like, man, Paul George has been an MVP candidate. Russell Westbrook still averaging a triple-double. I think they can get it together, but
that was our best season. And then George screwed up his shoulder after the All-Star break. and was just never the same. Never the same, because he was an MVP candidate. I still think he finished third in the voting that year, but he messed up his shoulder after the All-Star break, and after that, he wasn't the same player. He couldn't shoot the ball at all, and then he was still like good defensively and still played hard and stuff, but he lost his shot, and once he lost his shot, it's like, but Paul George is just kind of there, and then of course Westbrook he's gonna be Russell Westbrook. That ended the Thunder era. I look back on it now and I'm like, OKC sold high at a time where moving forward, if the Westbrook George era continued, it probably just would have been more disappointing first round, maybe second round exits. And instead we got the great Chris Paul season, which I'm still mad we lost that game 7 to the Rockets. And now we've got the Josh Giddey era, which is going to lead to 8 of the next 9 championships. So I'm excited. Josh Giddey is the Lord and Savior, man. We're not going to win it this year, but starting next year, 8 of the next 9.
Nah, y'all got to wait till 2023, get Imani Bates, and then y'all good. Y'all good for like the next 10 years or so. I think y'all will get a championship because of how they have constructed all their draft picks. I think y'all gotta hit the jackpot one of these next 2 seasons, or
we really just need like a good big in this draft. And I know it's pretty loaded on bigs, so we just need like a good big in this draft, because between Giddey and Shea and Dort's really playing well, and we've got like some nice role players. We hit on a big, like it's a team that plays hard, it's a team that plays well, and these guys are going to continue to give, especially Giddey. I'm so excited for this guy. Like he's already one of the best passers in the league. His defense is coming along, like his shooting is coming along, and I think he's going to be really, really good. So I'm excited for the future. We just got to get a big, and maybe we can, if we get the first pick, if we can hit on Holmgren, if we can get the kid from Duke, like we'll be in good shape. But it's good. OKC didn't do anything. They traded a second for KZ Okpala, and basically they traded that second to get protections off of a first, which is the main trade. I don't think Okpala is going to be like sticking around long term or anything. We will see when it comes to OKC. Our future looks brighter than the Lakers.
100%. You ain't never lie there. And even if you miss on a big man in the next draft, y'all can try to just double up. Even if y'all don't have a top 5 seed or a top 5 pick, I would trade that and try to load up for 2023. Because if you really want a big man, go for Wembanyama. I think Victor Wembanyama is better than even all the big men. I think the kid from Duke is really good, but I think he's better. I think Wembanyama is better than all these big men.
I can't say that I know enough about any of the draft stuff. I start paying attention when it actually is the draft, and I see like, okay, where's OKC picking? And then I can get my hopes of like, okay, this is the guy that I want. Until then, I'm not even thinking like, oh yeah, we have our targets on this guy. Because look, I didn't have, when I was looking at the draft stuff last year, I know Scotty Barnes, people were hoping like he would fall to them. The one of the Jalen's, people were hoping that they would fall because OKC had the 6th pick. And then once those were kind of out, like Kuminga was a big name that was kind of linked to OKC. I didn't have Josh Giddey. I didn't read too much about him. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but sure, let's go with it. And then I read some more about him. I was like, oh, this seems like a very OKC pick. And I wasn't like super, super excited. But then I've seen the kid play. I'm like, okay, this is the second coming of Magic Johnson. So let's go.
Wow!
Yeah,
the second coming of Magic
Johnson.
Oh my God! He said Giddey Magic. He wants that Giddey Magic.
In 40 years, Josh Giddey's gonna be on Twitter tweeting about LeBron James Jr. Being like LeBron James Jr. had a triple-double to lead the OKC Thunder to a great victory. Hashtag Thunder Up. That's going to be Josh Giddey in 40 years.
There you go. The Thunder great. The men that led the Thunder to their first championship. And he's talking about LeBron James III, LB3. No, but I've been impressed with him. And like I said, it's how y'all have those draft picks. Y'all going to hit the next couple of years. And even if y'all don't hit the next 2 drafts, so you got 2024 with Bronny James and Mikey Williams. So y'all can get something out of the next couple of seasons. And
we're gonna get Bronny James. LeBron's gonna sign the minimum to come off the bench, and so we can save some cap space as well.
You know, all these teams are thinking that they like, yo, let's hit on this Bronny James draft because not only do we get Bronny, LeBron will find a way to get here as well.
Yes, exactly. He just signed for the minimum too. He's like, he's made enough money. He'll be making Space Jam 3 by that point and cashing in on even more money that nobody will. It'll be panned critically, but LeBron don't care. He'll be swimming in his money like he's Scrooge McDuck. Shit about what it says critically. Yeah, this man's got plenty of money. He doesn't need that $40 million a year from the NBA. He's making hundreds of millions everywhere else.
Man, he got deals and shows everywhere, man. LeBron is definitely a mogul indeed, and probably one of the better ones in all time in NBA history. So I do hear what you're saying.
Let's real quickly, let's do the Super Bowl. We got the Bengals and the Rams. I think we both picked the Chiefs and the Rams last week. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
What can you do? Good games.
One out of two.
Yeah, interesting. Look, man, you shoot 50% from 3. That's really good. So you hit 50% in baseball, you're easily in the Hall of Fame. So,
exactly. And you make 50% on your shot on the floor. Like, man, you good. You good. So, I mean, I think I'm gonna have faith in the Bengals this week because I feel like they're the hotter team out of these two. So Joe Burrow, he's been amazing. Like, I think people are gonna want to play with him the next couple of years, the way they talk about like the Patrick Mahomes of the world. So I think that the Bengals kind of have the advantage here. So I'm gonna go with them. Although I'm going against my LA loyalty here. So
I'm going with the Bengals. And I think people, when it comes to the Rams, they're going to look at the defensive line and offensive line matchup because Cincinnati gave up like 100 sacks to Tennessee. The line was better against the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs don't have Aaron Donald and Von Miller kind of chasing you down. I do think that the Bengals will game plan well to get Burrow will try to get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker. I like the Bengals 24-14. I know LA just feels like they feel like such an NFL super team that is almost destined to get this far and fail. And I realize that has nothing to do with X's and O's, but that's sort of what it feels like to me. It's like, oh, we traded for Stafford. We got Beckham. We got Donald. We got Von Miller. And then the corner whose name I'm forgetting right now. But like they have all of these stars out in LA, and it just feels like Joe Burrow in his second season with all his swag, he didn't give a shit about any of this. He's just going to come in there and he's going to just tear them a new asshole. And that's what I think Joe Burrow is going to do. 24-14 Cincinnati Bengals. That is my official prediction.
I'll go, you said 24-14. I think it's going to be closer than that. I'll go 27-20.
Okay. Cooper Kupp offensively for the Rams as well. He's tremendous, but I love Burrow, Higgins, and Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase, he might be the best receiver in the league as early as next season. He might be it now, but he's Jalen Ramsey. Thank you, Money Mark. Completely forgot. And like, I know they're hoping that Ramsey can shut down Chase. You get Donald and Miller getting after the quarterback, and like you're good. And that's going to be their game plan defensively. I'm not totally sold on Stafford winning these games. And maybe that's just me remembering too much of him in the Lions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like that's probably a big part of it. Honestly, I don't know. Like I'm a big believer in just like destiny and gut feeling stuff. And my gut feeling is the Bengals winning this game. So that's why I'm going with them. It's probably all against what the X's and O's and what the experts are saying. But the experts probably didn't have the Bengals in this position anyway.
And this is a good example for the Philadelphia 76ers. You see what a coaching change does. You see when you see when you get a coach that you just know what they're going to offer. You get them up out of there. You bring someone new. That's why I think a lot of people are rooting for the Bengals, because they've kind of been the underdogs this entire playoffs. Came in without like a playoff win in so long, and now they've made it to the Super Bowl. So I think that's why I'm also rooting for them, because they're the sentimental favorite.
Yeah. So I know it'll make a lot of the pals happy if the Cincinnati Bengals can get the. I'm never gonna hear the end of it from Sean Ross Sapp if the Bengals end up winning.
I'm never gonna hear the end of it from Rick Ucchino. So
yeah, we're both gonna be in hell with those two. That's all they're gonna talk about. Never mind. I don't want the Bengals to win anymore.
LA Rams.
Yeah, let's go Rams. Fuck Sean and Rick. Get them out of here. I'm gonna. I do want I do think the Bengals are going to win. I do want my friends to be happy. If they don't, I'm not going to troll them. I might troll Sean a little bit because he was a dick after the Blazers Thunder series. And like, I got to get some payback, but I know what it's like to see my team get to the Super Bowl and win. And we were the favorites. We were the favorites in Super Bowl 50. I know what it's like for that to happen. I don't wish that pain on any of my friends. I always want, I don't want my friends to like have to suffer when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
I understand. The EP is telling me I got to be nice to Sean if they lose. I don't want to be nice to Sean if they lose. He was mean to me with Blazers and Thunder, but and that was a first round loss. The devastation of watching your team lose a Super Bowl is traumatizing. So I do not want that for my friends.
Trust me, I know. Like I have no team affiliation. I'm a player type of guy in the NFL. My favorite player of all time is Peyton Manning. So I've seen the joy of seeing him win his first championship against the Bears. I've also suffered through the pain of that interception against New Orleans Saints, and then oh my God, I was in a public bar eating wings when the Broncos versus the Seahawks. I will never get over that memory, ladies and gentlemen. Where the Broncos had like eating your wings, and then that game starts and it's just all downhill. Oh man, that was suffering.
I love Peyton Manning. Like he's one of my favorite players of all time. So like it sucked that we had to play him in the Super Bowl because for the most part, like I was typically going to root for Manning. Obviously, they're playing the Panthers. I was not going to do it. I can bless you for being out in a bar with all that stuff. I can't watch these games with anybody else around me when my teams are involved. I got drugged to a Super Bowl party for the Panthers game, and I was like adamant, I do not want to go to this. Like, I do not want to go. If we win, great. I'll be happy. I'll be the happiest person there. But like, you go to these Super Bowl parties and it's a bunch of casual fans and they know you're the big like fan because you're wearing your jersey and stuff. So they're asking you a ton of questions. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to focus on this game and control my emotions. I do not need you asking me how many downs they have to get a first down. Okay. I don't need you asking me this shit. Just let me watch the game. I cannot watch any of this. I've told the EV, like, if my team's ever in the Super Bowl, if the Avs are very good this season, and we don't have a lot of hockey friends, but like I just got to watch these games alone. I cannot be with anybody else. People have seen me on the watch along. We did a watch along of Avs Blues. Avs are up, mind you, first round series. They're up 3-1 in the series, so it's game 4, and the Blues score first. And so it's just a 1-0 game in the first period. It's honestly, there's a lot of hockey left to play. It's 3-0. It's in the series. It's first round. I just went off on Joel Pearl and Rob Wilkins. Like I was so agitated at them. I was screaming and yelling at them. Like I cannot watch these games around other people. I just can't do it. Doesn't matter the situation. I just cannot do it. So yeah, if the Panthers are ever back in the Super Bowl, don't invite me to your damn Super Bowl party. All right? I ain't coming. Just let me be at home at peace and let me punch something around here if something goes wrong.
Yeah, I stopped doing that with the Lakers. Like it was back when I was in high school when we lost to the Pistons. Oh. Man, I was hanging out with people in the NBA finals and stuff and meeting up with my friends and then watch the game, and they clowned me when we lost that series. And I said, never again when the Lakers are in the NBA finals am I going to watch with a group of people ever.
No, I can't do it. Just cannot do it, man. I get way too agitated, way too wound up when it comes to that stuff. I'm like trying to get better. I know because you kind of like know how you get, so you know how you can like kind of control it and stuff. But if it's a big game like finals, Super Bowl type stuff, it's so hard to control that stuff, especially if you're around people who just they don't understand it on that level. You know, they want to ask dumb questions, or if they're not built the way you're built, and they're just like, oh, whatever, it's just a game. That it's just a game type people. It's not a game, motherfucker. Whoa! That was a terrible bark. It's not a game. You think this is a fucking game? No, it's not. No. Wu-Tang. No. I throw up the diamond. Wu-Tang. I throw up the diamond.
Oh my God. I need someone to clip this.
The bark was terrible. My bark was god awful. I'm battling a sore throat. All right. I'm battling a sore throat. That's my excuse.
That was the greatest bark in YouTube history, ladies and gentlemen. Wu-Tang.
I said Wu-Tang and I threw up the damn diamond. Jesus. Oh man, throwing up the Rock. The Rock is in the building as well.
It's the Rock Clan.
Yeah, the Rock Clan. Regardless, it's not a fucking game, okay? It's not.
It's not. We take this sports thing very seriously.
Yes.
You don't see it all the time because we usually talk about that other business, but this is the sports we take very seriously.
You gotta go and do the grassy dudes. I'm gonna make you late and make Jensen mad at me.
No, that bark was worth it.
South Park. We mentioned it last week with Alex McCarthy. I didn't realize the new season had started. I'm caught up though. I watched last week. I watched this week. I thought last week was good. You're right that like the pajama time, like once it hits you, that it's about like mask and stuff. It's tremendous. I thought this week was like some next level stuff. This week was so damn good. Good.
It's like the payoff of like multiple seasons.
Yes.
Token has been here for such a long time, and he's just been one of the members of the team. And you kind of the joke was obvious, and then to turn the joke around on the viewer and be like, of course, everyone everyone that Stan talks to, he thinks that like exactly like us, Token is called the Token because he's the only black kid. He's the only black kid in the class. He's the only black kid in the group. He's the only one. So of course, Token, it just makes sense. And then to hear he's named after J.R. Token. Like, and even Cartman, who has been the number one person who has always made fun of the fact that Token is the only black kid. He's like, yeah, I just assumed.
And it's great when Stan is just like, well, you spelled it without an L. And then the joke is just like, Cartman's just a dumbass. Like, oh, there's an L in Token? Like, I didn't know. Like, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Cartman would just be a dumbass about that. When he's at the doctor's office and they break the fourth wall and the doctor is like yelling at the viewer, like, why would you think this? Like, did anybody else think this? Are you dumbass thinking this? Like, you can't believe you would actually think that we would do this. Just the retconning of Token being Token is so... I love it's so deadpan when they're sitting at the dinner table. It's like, well, why did you name him that? He's like, what do you mean? Like, he's named after J.R. Tolkien. Like, why wouldn't we name it? We're big fans of that. We didn't want to do J.R.R., so that's what we did. And Stan and Randy are just like, wait a second. And then the whole thing where Randy wants to use Tolkien's dad to essentially, boost Black culture and capitalize off of Black culture and everything. And then Tolkien's dad turns it around to open his own Craigie weed. Is like, no, I'm like, this is my culture. Like, I'm going to use this.
And he used the bass in his voice. He's like,
yeah, he did. Like, he's never talked like that.
It's like this that good stuff right here. Integrity. I love the billboard by Randy. Integrity Farms, legit. It was so great. He's like tucking the money in his pocket. Like, it was just layers to this episode that just made it all funny. But yeah, the Token payoff, like you said, the doctor's office when they broke the fourth wall, it reminded me of Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back when they kept looking like, who would go to this movie? And then they look at at the viewer, like that was just great. That was my favorite part where I was just like, I lost it. And then, oh no, the best part for me was actually Stan reading all of J.R. Tolkien's books in the black
voice. Yes.
It's like you need to go home and read it.
It's so good because look, white people suck, and so we all love Black culture, and all the white people are trying to capitalize off of it and everything. So when Stan is like reading in the black person's voice, and then he sends Tolkien out of the room to like have this talk with all the white classmates, but he doesn't realize like you're still disincluding the white or the black person here, like you idiot. And this is what white people do. This is why we're horrible. Because this is legit how we act. It's terrible.
Oh man,
it's so on the nose, but the way they do it and spin it into comedy is just tremendous.
If this is the theme of the season, just like just going across and just really driving home these jokes like for one full episode, I'm with it. So far, it's been good.
It feels like it's continuing too, because that ending did not give me the ending of like any type of closure. It seems like Craigie and Tegrity are going to be battling and stuff. Like it seems like they're gonna. I haven't always liked the serial seasons with South Park, but if they can they're good at like short arcs. Like Imagination Land is just like the 3 episodes there, just tremendous stuff. Like they are very good at like little short arcs, and if they do like a 3-4 episodes on this, I think it could be a huge hit. This has been one of my favorite South Park episodes in a while. Like as far as these recent seasons, which I think it's fallen off a little bit, but this one, dude, Black Puppy, White Puppy, it's just.
He was like, "You're getting sued for sampling Ebony and Ivory." He was like, "No, it's White Puppy, Black Puppy." Like he was like, "It's in the same melody."
and never heard this song.
Just tremendous. My favorite arc for them is actually the Coon and Friends. I think that's just like I can watch that episode whenever, and that just makes me laugh. Like just hearing the explanation from Cartman of why he's called the Coon is just one of the best character moments for him. And then the whole arc with Kenny, how they paid off Kenny's whole character with that whole superhero arc, that was great.
Yes, they're very good at these little short arcs. I don't love the full season stuff, but these like 2-3 episode arcs, they're tremendous at that stuff. So I look forward to next week and seeing if it does continue. If it doesn't, I'm fine. I don't know if the payoff was great. The payoff just might be like white people suck, and that's a fine payoff. Like it's true. So if that's the payoff, I get it, but I do think and I mean, if you've watched enough South Park, you know that Randy has always had the racist kind of tendencies. In the first place, the infamous Nagger episode. Like
he was like, "Are you serious? Are you serious? It's okay. It's okay." He was like, "You got 10 seconds." Oh my god! It's just no. Actually, it's Nagger. Great stuff. That is true. You can replay that over and over again.
That's a classic episode. But I thought Wednesday's episode was so fucking good, just so good. I need to just immediately rewatch it now. So if you haven't been watching the new South Park season, I thought the premiere was good. I thought it was very good, but last night or Wednesday nights was honestly a classic one. That was a classic one for me.
I'm surprised Dynamite beat that in the ratings, honestly. Great stuff.
Oh wait, you get muted. You mentioned Dynamite, so we've muted SP3. No wrestling talk on this. You get muted if you talk about wrestling on here. All right, you're unmuted. SP3, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on the Twitter machine here, True Hill SP3, and you can find me here on Fightful Overbooked in about like 5 minutes. Degrassi dudes, we're gonna probably talk some more about South Park to start, and then we're gonna rank the characters of Degrassi.
There you go, SP3, and then he's got True Hill Rewind. That's Sundays on Fightful Overbooked as well. I said you do more shows on this channel than I do. I said it yesterday. I don't know what's going on my own channel. Sean's like, here you go, do what you want with it. And then I was just like, all right, cool. Let me just get a bunch of people that I like to do shows. And now Joel Pearl just does whatever he wants and just acquires a bunch of different properties. Like, what are we doing, Joel Burrow?
This is
I
this
don't know.
awesome channel. Like, you got a Dynamite review with Will, with different people coming on, new people you could meet. You got True Rewind going back to the Monday Night Wars. You got Joel and Tim's podcast. Like, this is like a melting pot of everything. It's like ESPN2 meets MTV.
we've got demo divas. Joel's doing stuff with different people. JPJ, Pluggo, Josh, Kate, a bunch of different people. Yes, I do like the talent we've kind of put out here, and our roster is it's fun. You got Degrassi dudes with you and Jensen. Obviously, I do the spotlight or Jensen every Thursday. We're trying to secure a big guest for next week or the coming weeks. Yes, I'll fill you in off air. Who we're trying to get. But everyone, stick around here on Fightful Overbooked. We've got Degrassi dudes coming up next with SP3 and Jensen. Later on, we have coexisting with Rob and Maggie. I think they're live today. Again, I don't know my own schedule, but I think they're live today on the show. So everyone can stick around here. Degrassi dudes in like 3 minutes. Everyone follow SP3. SP3 appreciate it. We'll be back. Probably not next week. We'll probably get back to the bi-weekly format. Honestly, I love the show so much, though. We might just end up start doing it weekly.
Yeah, I have fun, and Jeremy is like a very good friend. And especially last week, he told me he's an Entourage fan, so we're just friends.
We got to start talking about that. I got to start like binge watching that, and we got to throw in some Entourage stuff because it's been a while. I only watched it just first run stuff, but I got to start binge watching that, and I want to watch Power. But now there's a new Love Is Blind that I just start watching that just hit Netflix. Okay. Oh yeah, it's terrible reality, trashy, like Find Love television. It's so terrible. But Joe Millionaire, been watching that with the EP. Like, it's just terrible stuff. But I do want to watch Power, and I do want to watch Entourage. It's just a matter of finding time for all this stuff. Guys, we appreciate you joining us. Stick around for Degrassi dudes. We'll talk to y'all next week.